Do you need an amazing waterproofing product? Look no more. Basecrete is the #1 cementitious 100% waterproofing membrane with a proprietary blend of polymers and specialized content. An easy to use, all in one waterproofing membrane and bond coat that provides exceptional strength and unparalleled adhesion, yet remains flexible to absorb movement and the underlying concrete structure. With its range of application, Basecrete is the ideal solution to protect or repair any concrete structure. For use in swimming pools, roofs, terraces, foundations, cellars, deck, etc. It adheres directly to the substrate. No primer, no bond coat. How easy is that? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever day it is. It's Heather on Hump Days with Heather on the Talking Pools podcast. So in this episode, I want to talk about QuickBooks. There's been a lot of chatter online on the forums about QuickBooks Desktop versus QuickBooks Online. It's a big difference between price point, between ease of feature, between what the view looks like, how hard it is, a learning curve, what it connects with, users, so many different options between the two. I've personally have used both. I use desktop for my business because the biggest thing for me was when I do estimates, I can see on desktop exactly what my price point is on any given item that's in my items list. So if I do an estimate for a T104M example, I can see with desktop my cost without having to go into that items list and actually look. Because as you know, everything nowadays is all over the place with cost. And as a small business owner, we're having a hard time keeping up with all the prices increase, right? We have to literally go in and check every single item that we sell before we actually produce it online, or not online, excuse me, but produce it to the client. So with the desktop, I can see it, bam, it's there. Online, you cannot. You have to physically go into that item and see what it is, change that margin in the item online, and then go back to your estimate. It sucks. Like that ease feature is horrible, but desktop, I can change my cost right there just for the estimate and then create the estimate and be done with it. And then go back into my items list and change my cost on that items list or do it at the same time, right? It's whatever you prefer. Versus online, you have no idea. So say your office personnel screwed up and put that T104M at your cost at $5 instead of $50. Well, you have no way of knowing that with online because it's not there unless you go into the items list. So for me, that was a deal breaker for me because I've got to be able to know without going into every single one, especially with everything going up now. If our prices were like they were a few years ago, where it wasn't a price increase every week and it was every 6 months to a year, then no problem because we just download the price sheet, we upload it into our books, and bam, it's done, right? So another big thing with desktop versus online, desktop is going to cost you a hell of a lot more than online. So my desktop cost me $500 a month because I had an in-house server, but I got rid of it since we moved everybody remotely versus in my office. Because in my office, we had like, I don't know, 6 office personnel and all the technicians. They had, we had 2 computers for the technicians when they came in if they needed to look at something or on an account or whatever. So there was 2 for that. So we had like 8 computers, 9 computers, all running off of my server. But when everybody moved to the house, I couldn't do the server anymore without doing a remote VPN, which I didn't want to do just for QuickBooks because that cost was not sustainable for me. So what we did then is we had our IT just set up SharePoint and we had remote desktops set up for, or not remote desktops, but QuickBooks set up on a remote server. So I rent the server through I thought I had it written down here. I don't. I forget the name, but I've got it in my books for whatever that is. So we rent the server and then we pay for it. So that 400 and whatever ish dollars that I pay is for the server, for the hosting with my users because you do pay for the users on the server as well as in desktop just like you do online, plus the actual software itself. So my QuickBooks that I use is actually enterprise level, which is a lot more than most people need. I just like the features that enterprise uses versus like the pro or the premier. But I've had it for so long, like my cost is definitely not what you're gonna pay. Like, enterprise level now is, I think, over $1,200 a month, if I'm not mistaken. But because I've had QuickBooks for over, like, 10 years, I deal with them where my price point stays the same. So QuickBooks Online, their price points, I wanna say, start at $15 per user. They have, like, 5 different plans. I think they've got, like, the self-employed, the simple start, essentials, plus, advanced, and I think that's it off the top of my head. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say there's 5. And I wanna say it ranges from, like, 15, $20 a user up to, like, 200 a user, give or take. And I know with online, you have up to 25 users that you can do. The reporting in the online is a lot easier to read than the reporting in desktop. So I do like the report, just the way that it looks, right? It's not necessarily easy to read, but it's just, like, more user friendly than the desktop. With that being said, I don't know if you're a visual person and if that matters a lot, because to me, I like visual, right? I like pretty colors, I like bright colors, I like all of that. So, the next thing with desktop is the key features that I just love, minus the estimates being able to see. The bills and the accounts payable is a lot easier to get to, I think, than online, and your invoicing and the way that I track my income and expenses. Online, the banking and the expenses are pretty easy. I like that feature on that. So I wish we could like mesh the two, right? If we could key feature some of the desktop over to the online, it would be an amazing thing. Online, you can also do it on the go, right? There's an app that you download and you can invoice right on the go and be done with it. Desktop also has video, yeah, I think they do. Yeah, I'm gonna say yes, they do. Video tutorials, not like YouTube, but like through QuickBooks themselves. And then chat, and then they have webinars to help you with that stuff. Online, you get product support, you get phone, you product training. I mean, both of these you get. It just depends on your knowledge of how hard computers are for you. For me, it's very simple, very hands-on. So I'm like rapid fire with this. Like I bypass the basic people because they piss me off. I don't have the patience for it at all. Desktop flowchart menu is very easy. Well, I guess the online one is easy as well, right? They're very similar into what they look like. And I wonder, well, I don't know if Rudy's gonna upload the video. Hopefully he does. But I was gonna show you like the difference between the two because I have, I have both for my clients, has online and then I have desktop. But nonetheless, the import for online is a lot easier than desktop. I will tell you, if you're using like Ion or, any other pool company software, which 98% of us do, right? The import between desktop versus online is so much easier for importing because the import that I have to do for my desktop to go from QuickBooks desktop to online is a sync tool and it kind of sucks. Like it's horrendous sometimes, but nonetheless, it works and it does its job. You just have to make sure that you work it properly with the correct features that you want it to sync with. So, I guess, for both online and desktop, it's a good selection of features. So, go through them, look and see what's best. For me, again, if I could see my price point for the estimates online, hands down, I would probably switch back to online. I switched from desktop to online for about a month and then I switched back. I didn't cancel my desktop membership just because I know, like, I don't ever do that, right? Online has a lot easier functionality with the automatic bank reconciliation as well, so keep that in mind too, like, if your daily tasks, right? Because remember, in our world, we wanna automate as much as we can. So the online feature for the bank reconciliation is a lot easier, but you have to make sure you have to go in and create rules to make sure it allocates correctly, and then, of course, it's computer generated, so just go in and double check that because sometimes it messes things up. Online, the sales features has a little bit better way of tracking all the customers to create a custom invoice and post payments. So whenever you're creating this, you send payment reminders to past due customers, including a payment link that makes it super easy for them to pay for. Now, desktop has a payment link as well, but the way that it looks to customers is different and sometimes a little bit harder to see. So sales process is just a little bit different for the online versus the desktop. Desktop on the vendor sender, right? Like SEP, Jetline, so on and so forth. Their vendor center activity is a lot more, I think, detailed more than online, in my opinion, because the bill tracker lets you to view current bills, including like the due dates, recent bills, past dues, options to pay, how to pay. The online offers that too, but it's just the way that it's laid out is a little bit different. So feature point, I think it's pretty much all the same. Those are the top ones that I have seen for me personally that defines which one that I wanted to use going forward. The flow chart, the desktop versus online too. The online flow chart is a lot easier, I think, to read. So again, big points between the two. Go through, look and see which one makes the sense for you. I will tell you though, if you are doing QuickBooks, call them, talk with sales because they will negotiate cost with you for the first year to get you signed up. I know they always have like a sale on their website for like 3 months, but I'm telling you, go ahead and call them because they will negotiate their cost with you. But you didn't hear that from me. And I will tell you too, don't ever do like the simple start. Always go with the essentials or the plus plan because you've got to be able to track your inventory. And I know with the plus plan with online, that has inventory tracking. So I always have my clients start with the plus. Like if you call me and say, "Hey, Heather, which QuickBooks Online do I use?" Hands down, Plus. It's more expensive, but it has that inventory and that project profitability, which is what you need. Because if you don't have that project profitability, you can't really keep track of your numbers, right? So start with the Plus. If you can afford the advanced, do the advanced because if you have batch invoices that you do, let's say you service 30 pools and you have 30 invoices to send out. So desktop, you can do memorized transactions just like you can in QuickBooks Online. I use memorized transactions a lot when I was doing cleaning. So on my desktop, I can memorize all those transactions and then automatically send those out whenever they're due. Online, you can't as well, but you have to have the advanced one to be able to do that. So that's where you have those, those invoices memorized and say they're due on the 1st and you want them sent on the 25th, you'll just set that memorization up in QuickBooks and you go in there and click a button to send all the batch invoices and it sends it all out for you. So that's a big feature that if you have a lot of customers that are on weekly service that you need to send out those multiple invoices, you definitely want to do those memorized and send out batch invoicing instead of going one by one by one because that's a huge, huge deal. Advanced, you also have up to 25 users versus the Plus, you have up to 5 users. So, and that's just people inside of QuickBooks at simultaneous times, right? So let's say you have 10 people that need QuickBooks, but only 5 of them need access at the exact same time. You can get users up to 5 as long as no more than 5 are logged in simultaneously, right? Does that make sense? Okay, well, I hope this has helped you, and I hope that kind of clears up the biggest difference between online versus desktop because it does make a huge difference. Because you also want to do a price breakdown with annual costs and all that and see what's going on. Because I know, well, actually, I think there's one more thing. I think online offers a CRM as well. I think they just came out with that because I had a client ask me about that. Obviously, the third party integration apps with online is easier. And I know desktop does not offer a CRM because my CRM is completely separate and I kind of hate that. And there's no way to sync them. So I have to manually go into each one, which fucking sucks. But it works. Even though desktop does integrate with some third party applications for online is a hell of a lot better than the desktop. So keep that in mind as well. All right, I think that's it for the most part. I can't think of anything else. I'm trying to think real quick just to make sure. No, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, actually, no, there is one more thing. You can't do a sales order with online. I am like 80% sure online you can't do sales order. Desktop you can. That's a huge, huge deal as well because I use sales orders as well. Unless they've added that feature, which I'm not sure if they if they have or not. So you would have to look online. I'd have to go online and look and see if it's there. All right, peoples. Well, peace out until next week. That's it. Holla. Bye.